Joining us now from the World Gas Conference in D.C., which has now been going on for a couple of days. Let's welcome in American Energy Secretary Rick Perry. Mr. Perry, we got to stop meeting like this, sir. It's great to see you again remotely. Thank you for joining us.
How are you?
All right. Well, I asked you on Tuesday, I think it was, if you were going to meet with your counterpart from Russia, Alexander Novak. You said you would hope to. Can you confirm that you did meet with the Russian energy minister this week, sir?
Yeah, we did. Top of a meeting that we had back in January in Davos. This was the second time that we met this year, and had a good, constructive conversation. It's good to talk to people, whether you're at the high mark of your relationships or not, which we obviously aren't with Russia, but it's good to have those conversations.
Could you take us into the room just a little bit about the topics of conversation? I would assume that OPEC was discussed, perhaps the U.S. shale boom, maybe their new pipeline to Germany?
Yeah, all of the above. I mean, it was a pretty broad-ranging conversation. We've shared with them our concerns about some of the activities they've been involved with, whether it's Crimea, Ukraine, the continual development of the Nord Stream 2. All of those are on the table. They're obviously not unilaterally for the Department of Energy to be making decisions, but we can send messages. I don't think there was any shocks to anybody in the room about any of the conversations that we had. They're going to be a major player in the European market. The US LNG is now going to be a very, very important option for EU countries to decide where they're going to get their gas from. Competition's a good thing, basically, was our message, and we wish them well with their competition, and we're going to put our shoulders to the task and try to get as much American LNG into the European community as we can.
You were kind enough, sir, to spend a couple of minutes with us on Tuesday as you were rushing between meetings, and you had indicated to me that you thought that if there was some kind of a supply gap in the oil market, that the Saudis would be able to produce more oil, maybe even more than they had agreed upon at that OPEC meeting a couple of days ago in Vienna. Did you also have a similar conversation, sir, with the Russians? If there is a supply shock, because we've seen the price of oil jump, as you know, sir, pretty significantly in the last couple of days, that the Russians would be able to fill any holes in the global supply for oil?
Yeah, I think all of the above are true from the standpoint of a supply standpoint. There's just a really substantial demand. And some disruptions around the world when you think about what's going on in Venezuela, in Angola, Libya, obviously Iran with the JCPOA, all of those disruptions at a time that demand is really going up. We got the summer driving season right here in the United States, so there is a need for crude that then turns into gasoline in the marketplace. So the Saudis are committed to trying to fill that void, and I'm sure we did not speak with specificity about the Russians on that issue, but I'm confident that as demand shows itself in the market, those that have the ability to hit that supply are going to do everything they can.
Secretary Perry, what do you think a fair price for crude oil is at the moment? I mean, we've watched it climb so rapidly.
Yeah, you know, I'm not in the business of prognosticating the price of gasoline. You know, $65 to $70 seems to be a place where most of the producers are comfortable that they can continue to do. I'm more concerned about the capacity issue in the United States. That's my greatest concern, is being able to build the infrastructure, get the permitting done. President Trump sent a clear message early on in his administration that he wants to see regulations that are part of a blockade, if you will, of being able to get this product to the market. Do a cost benefit. If it costs more than it benefits, get them out of the way. And we've done that in a pretty substantial way. Getting these LNG permitting facilities or these export facilities permitted is very high on his list of things to get done. So working more on the supply side and doing government's job. That is, here's the rules. When you meet the rules, here's your permit. And give that stability to the marketplace. And American entrepreneurs, American innovators, American producers, they will respond in a very powerful and proper way.
Mr. Secretary, I wanted to ask you about our relationship with Saudi Arabia, in particular the country's ambition to take Aramco public. This is something they've been talking about for quite some time now. It has continually been delayed. President Trump has tweeted out his hope that it will one day happen and happen in an exchange in the United States. How often do you talk to the Saudis about the Aramco IPO and also the price of oil in terms of its dependence on that price to make the IPO work?
Well, we talk on a fairly regular basis. There's both traveling to the kingdom, meeting with the king, meeting with the crown prince, meeting with Khalid Al Falih, my counterpart, others, Abdulaziz bin Salman, the older brother of the crown prince. I mean, I have personal relationships with them. We correspond on a relatively regular basis. The idea of Aramco and that IPO really doesn't come up that often. I think that's a fairly closely held decision that the king, the crown prince, probably Khalid, will be making decisions about. But they're a country that we have a lot of different relationships with. It's not just in the oil and gas side. Obviously, we're conversations and negotiations, if you will, on a 1, 2, 3 agreement on the nuclear energy side of things. The United States would like to be a partner as they build out their nuclear energy portfolio. They're talking about a very substantial growth in that area. So a lot going on in that country. We've got a history with them. They've been great friends, great allies. Their role in this short-term issue of being able to fill the void, if you will, of crude going into the marketplace, they're going to be very active in that. I think they're going to hit their goals of somewhere between 10 and 11
quickly,
million
Mr.
barrels.
Secretary,
So
you talked about infrastructure in the Permian Basin. We're now exporting 3 million barrels of oil a day, something not only a record, unthinkable even a few years ago. We're now exporting more oil than most countries produce, but we seem to be sort of peaked out in terms of getting oil to market, as you noted. Is there any short-term way to increase the oil and energy infrastructure, or is it going to take many years?
You're going to take some time. It's going to be first, second quarter of 2019, I would say, before the new pipelines get completed. With that said, you can still get that to market. It's just more costly. You're going to be trucking it. And from the Permian to the Gulf Coast is a pretty good piece. But I can assure you that in the state of Texas, and with the permitting process that we got in the federal government now, it will go faster than it's ever gone in the past to be able to get those pipelines done. So this is an extraordinary opportunity. We're seeing a lot of interest in infrastructure in the United States. Some of it foreign dollars coming in the United States. Great example is the Golden Pass over in southeast Texas. The Qataris are partners there with the US oil company building a massive LNG export facility. So a lot of infrastructure going to be built in the United States. We're going to continue to be the world's leader in the production of oil and gas. Exciting time to be in that industry.
U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry. Mr. Perry, we appreciate your time today, Secretary. Thank you very much. We hope to see you again soon, sir.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.